Looks like it's a real calculator, but it's actually a storage vault for different photos. If you don't know what you're looking for, you can install it. Your kids can install it. They can have private photos on there that they're receiving and they're sending. And if you don't think that there's a potential of having it and them putting it on there, give them a long enough time to try to find a way to be sneaky, and they'll do it. Again, this is it's in different colors, but if you had the PDF, all the same information's in there. I can send out the one that I'm using here. It was just easier for me to read when we put it up here. Hidden spy camera. Basically turn on a camera. There's not much there. Second texting. This one is an app that allows you to add a second texting number. You can get a customizable texting number unknown to anyone but those you are texting. One of its selling points is the ability to send and receive photos. So again, we're talking about WhatsApp, we're talking about Messenger, we're talking about different apps. You can download burner apps where your kid can have a different phone number and make and receive phone calls from whoever he wants, and then delete it, reinstall it, and have access to it all over again. It allows them to talk to people, send messages, and do things that they shouldn't, that you can't monitor because you don't know it's there. There's a list of burner apps out there that honestly that we ran along when I was investigating human trafficking, prostitution, and drug dealers. Fake GPS. With this app, you can take a picture of yourself and fill in the GPS location before sending them to your contacts. That way, you say, Addie is 15 years old, and she says, I'm going to go to a soccer game. And she sends me a picture, and she sends it, and I look it up, and it says, oh, she is at E-Town. Well, second, if she sends me a picture and says that, I'm going to check where she's actually at because, again, I have access to her location at all times. When she has her phone, she can't turn it off. But if your kid doesn't, if you don't have that on there and they send that to you, they could say, hey, I'm at the football game, send you a picture, be like, look, here it is, here's the GPS. You can pull it up, and it shows that they're at Central Hardin, North Hardin, and they're actually in Louisville. A couple weeks last year, heard about an investigation that kid was going to go to Freeman Lake. Next thing you know, they were up in Louisville at a party, at a pool party. Top 5 best texting apps: WhatsApp, Viber, Messenger, Telegram, Signal, TextNow, and Text Plus. Again, just what we talked about earlier. WhatsApp is the most popular because it offers end-to-end encryption, and everybody found, oh, well, if that's the case, the police can't monitor it. Thing is, we can't monitor it live time. We can still download it if we get your phone. So don't be mistaken. If you do something illegal, the police will find out about it. There's not a software out there yet that has been able to keep the police from downloading it. So for anybody that's thinking about, oh, I'll beat all this and joining a live into crime, which let's pray you don't. I'm just letting you know. Anything that you do criminal on your phone, it can be found. Now, parents, I can't go take your kid's phone to work because they are, sending text messages that you don't approve of. It's not going to allow me to do that. Have to have a criminal reason for it. But WhatsApp is a big, big way. If you, through my investigative means and Facebook that I use for work, I'll get messenger invites all the time to join this WhatsApp chat group that is adult only. This is a Facebook that I used to follow drug dealers and human trafficking people, and you would get messages, hey, join us on this chat group, join on this, and it's all WhatsApp links. Viber. It isn't well known in the U.S., which means you might struggle to get other users to install it on your iOS or Android devices. Even so, it's a well-rounded message app that can handle full-range communications. You can use it to text chats with up to 250 users at once. Where this becomes a problem is when and if it does become popular here in the U.S. and you have a child that's in their bedroom all the time and they've got these friends and you hear them laughing, and then they all of a sudden say it's a young lady and they're all of a sudden have all this money, or they're using their phone and they're receiving stuff. And then you go to look at it, and it could be them sending pictures of themselves or showing video of themselves to over 250 people from around the country at one given time. And there's another app that I am going to discuss here in just a minute. The next big one, Facebook Messenger. I know we all had groups, right? I think we had a media group. There was a leaders group. How many have the church app installed on their phone? All right. How many are in a ministry group that has a chat group in that app? All right. There should be no reason, and I know we haven't pushed it as hard as we can, but there should be no reason we're still using Messenger except for the random that we send out from here to there. I know Kids by the Lake, she still sends it to all the parents. We're going to try to get everybody moved over by the end of this year to using the Church Center app solely for church business. I got away from it from the media team mainly because my friend Matthew doesn't do Facebook, doesn't really like to do Messenger, but he had it. Well, he was very thankful when we started using Church Center to use our communications. It allows us to communicate. It allows you to set dates, add events, send pictures, download stuff. I mean, Stephanie uses it to send minutes from meetings every month. So we're going to get away from Messenger as a church. Again, there's so many different groups out there. If you are like Bailey and Addie, they both have chat or groups that the parents use for her soccer team that we communicate back and forth with soccer. But also, when you join these communities on Facebook, it now is recommending you start that community group. You start a chat messenger group with that community group. It's a push to get everybody away from their current text messaging apps and using cell phone services, and a way to keep you so that Facebook can continue to control and monitor your phone feeds, all your ads that you get. If you log into your Google account on your iPhone and then you log into your Google account on your work computer, all your ads are going to be the same. You can tell that I'm going to. I've looked up boots for work because on my phone it's got this, on my work computer it's got that. And the more we talk about it in Messenger, in different apps that are following us and recording our activity, the more you're going to start seeing these. Not really familiar with Telegram, but it's users can text up to 200,000 users at once. The big thing that I noticed about Telegram was it was a way that was becoming more, sorry, Caleb, I told you I wasn't going to move very far. It's becoming a way to sell drugs big time. Over the last 2 to 3 years, people could send out a text message of advertising what they had for sale, and people could respond and ask for them to meet up. So Telegram, and again, if your kid has a cell phone or you have a cell phone and they have your cell phone number, I try to stick with direct text messages to people's contact number. I try not to use Messenger unless I don't have a contact number for you. And I try to keep away from it. So there's really no reason that my daughter will ever have anything other than her standard text messaging while she's 18, under the age of 18. And listen, honey, if you're still in my house at 20, the rules still apply. Signal is, we started seeing Signal. Signal is another WhatsApp-style text messaging, but it is a lot more secure. Facebook offered a way for the police to be able to monitor WhatsApp live. Just tell you that right off the bat. The only problem is there's several hurdles you have to go over. The owner of Signal said, he laughed at the FBI and said, "You're not ever getting my stuff." Again, once you get your hands on the phone as the police, you can download it. But Signal is another text messaging app that you have to actually use a phone number for to keep your verification, but it allows you to send end-to-end text messages, delete stuff. You can set messages for deletion within 24 hours or so many hours of sending and talking about stuff. You can have it delete every night at midnight. And without hesitation, it clears all your text messages out. Text Now is what I was talking about earlier. What's becoming big is Text Now is able for people to do what's called swatting. How many people have heard somebody be swatted? Anybody in here? So we have a problem of it here in Kentucky. Up until this July, or last July in 22, it wasn't a felony to swat somebody. And so you would get the call that somebody had just killed their entire family, and they were going to be waiting for the police. As soon as you got there, you found out it was everybody sleeping. What was good about what people, not good, what people are using with text now is they're signing up with phone numbers out of California, area codes out of Portland, Texas. You can name it. You can change your number and say it's coming from New York, and you're here. So you don't know who you're texting when, with that. And it's also another way that your kids that we can delete. And I'll even go one further. Your significant other can get caught up in text now, or you can get caught up in text now, texting people and finding a way to keep those messages out. So while I'm trying to keep everybody up with their kids, guard your hearts, your marriages, your families, everybody. Text Plus, it's like Text Now. You gives you voice calling and texting on iOS and Android, unlike Text Now, which sends you a SIM card. Text Plus users have to use Wi-Fi. A little bit more of a way back, a little bit harder to use, but it allows people that don't want to pay a cell phone bill. You get an old Android device, you get a Text Plus number, and it gives you minimal. You can use Wi-Fi at home, and then you pay a little bit to make phone calls. Any questions so far at all about anything?
What's swatting?
So, let's say Jaden's got a friend. He's playing in a game online. Makes the friend mad. And the friend's like, okay, I got you. Bet. I'm going to take care of business. So he calls using his Text Now number, and he has a E-Town area code. And he makes it your phone number at your house. So he's like, I'm going to get Jaden. So he uses Jaden's home phone number, masks it, and then calls 911. Or even better, just has a cell phone number that's from E-Town. Calls 911 and says, hi, my name's Jaden. I just killed my sister and my dad and my mom, and I've got a shotgun to my little brother's head, and send the police. So then we send the entire department to your house. And in other states, they've actually made entry into houses, and there have been people that have been killed by the police during these incidents, but it makes the police get to a house and then realize that there's nothing going on. And so what they started doing is started calling it swatting, because one of the first ones that happened was on live TV, where a guy called, it was on like YouTube Live or something, and somebody called 911, they kicked the door in while they're playing a video game, and they thought it was a joke. So it became swatting from that time forward. I've heard stories of kids calling in swatting calls to LAX. Multiple high schools seem to be one of the biggest issues now, calling in fake bomb threats right before finals. All that is a felony here in the state of Kentucky. All right? If you do that here in Kentucky, if you do that here in E-Town, I will find out where you live, okay? I promise you, you are not going to be able to keep me from coming to your house, and you will be charged with a felony, all right? If I'm still here and you do something that dumb. How many know what this app is? Anybody use it? One person? All right, 2 people? All right, Discord. How many were computer nerds in the 90s? Late 90s, early 2000s, right? I remember ever hearing of IRC or ICQ chat. Anybody? I knew there would be one. Tim Weedman won't let me down, people, I promise you. So today's kids, they use Discord. Discord allows people to set up servers and to chat about certain topics. The problem with it is, again, it's hard to monitor everything, and their age verification isn't the best. Kid can go in and lie, and they have full access to it. It was launched in 2015 for people with similar interests to share and communicate. It is popular among the gaming community as it offers a way for video game players to communicate with each other and develop community outside their games. However, it has grown into a full social network of over 140 million active users, and it is no longer popular amongst gamers. That's a lie. I still think it's very popular amongst gamers. The reason I bring up Discord, when it goes back to the swatting calls, the majority of those that are being swatted is it because they made somebody mad while they were all playing Fortnite and chatting on Discord and hurt one another's feelings. With Discord is not just about gaming. It's not just about the chance of having the swatting. There are full-on sex trafficking rings being ran through the Discord app. Full-on child pornography sites being ran through the servers because it is hard for them to monitor 140 million monthly users that have access to everything. There are child predators out here setting up servers where they are hosting pictures of children and people are paying them. They are paying and they're having webcams where people are paying to log in and watch children undress, teenagers undress, do whatever stuff that is on all the other side of the internet, porn sites, and paying monthly to see it, and the monitoring is not there. So there's another app where your kids have unlimited access to whatever they want. It's not very hard to set up. You can do it on your cell phone. You can do it on a tablet. You can do it on your computer. Child exploitation, human trafficking, violent crimes, theft, extreme and hate crimes, and drug trade. Used to be, you can only trade drugs on the dark web. I'm going to a class later this year to learn more about the dark web and how to investigate things on the dark web. But I know that there are servers set up on Discord that are actively trading and buying and selling large quantities of illegal drugs. They're actively trading and buying and getting kids and getting our kids to come to different states for sex trafficking. All right, it's another app that we have to monitor. And a lot of what tonight is basically to give you an idea of just how many apps are out there. And if you're not monitoring what your kids have, again, the first line of defense is to not allow them to install apps unless you know what they're installing. And then, even then, still do your research because Roblox, right? We've all heard about the dangers of Roblox, cussing, adults being in there, nudity, violence, all in Roblox. Because everything that kids have found to make themselves to have fun with a cell phone, a predator has found a way to access it and to get into your kid's life for their benefit too. It's just like lithium batteries. Who would have thought that we'd be using that in drugs so that we can put that in our body, right, with meth? Sorry, totally off subject. Parental control software, Norton Family, Circle Home Plus, different net nannies. Most of your Wi-Fi routers now come with it. You can install the software. If your family uses nothing but Android devices, I'm going to put a QR code up here later. There's a Family Link app where you can tie your child's email address to your Family Link, and you can control everything that they do on their phone. They can't turn on their phone if you don't want them to. You can limit all the way down just about anything. Cell phone safety apps. I generated a small list. Again, you guys can access these lists. But one of the big ones is Bark. One night, Preston has done a big presentation on it. Maybe we can get the youth over one night, and he can go over Bark and what the benefits are of having that, and we'll do as much of a full-blown that we can. But Bark is a monitoring app. You install it on your your son's phone. It constantly monitors every text that they send, and it will send you alerts. Hey, they were talking about sex. Hey, they were being bullied. Somebody's bullying them. They're bullying somebody. Hey, this person, talked about violence. This is talking about illegal drugs. You can set the parameters for so many different ways, and then the database is constantly updating with Bark. The only drawback that I found that I really don't like about Bark is it costs money. I hate paying all the subscriptions. Even though I ask Pastor for a new one every year, I hate paying subscriptions. All right. Now, we're going to get into a way and some things to look for on your child's phone. Explicit emojis. All right. So we're all there. We all have emojis. We all send them. We all see them. And some of us think, oh, that's not bad. That's cute. That can't have a bad meaning to it. And of course, they didn't show up. They're on your device. So give me 1 second. Do you guys have who did not download the emoji stuff? So if you didn't download the QR code, or if you did, go to it. I don't know that it'll show up there. I'm going to email it to you real fast. Are there any questions while I fix this issue? Chris, it's going to take just a minute for it to come through. No, I sent the whole PowerPoint. It's the dark one with it's basically what everybody has on their phone. So when I was doing this research, I was a little blown away. I'm not going to lie. I may have blushed a few times. And the monkey in the middle with the speak no evil, I was probably covered my mouth with what I saw. Did you get it? No, not those. The one that next PowerPoint has the emojis that I need. The next page down. But as you can see, I saw some people, the norms over there, kind of looking at them. And the reason why I want you guys to have these, and we'll go through them if it comes up, but the big reason that I want our parents to have these is go through your kid's phone. Look for these emojis. Look for this stuff to see what they're talking about. Be investigative, all right? It's not that we're doing it because we don't want to be their, we're not trying to be their friends at this age. They will make mistakes. They need to know the dangers of making these mistakes. For girls and guys, all right? If you're sending nude images of yourself to friends, just know those are going to come out. They're not deleting them. You make that friend mad the wrong time, and your entire school will have those images at the drop of a finger on a text message. I've seen it happen again and again. I've seen 5th graders, 6th graders do it. All right? Cell phones are great. They're a great way to communicate. You can take a ton of pictures of things that are appropriate, but they're also one of the worst ways that we can get ourselves in a lot of trouble that we can't come back from, that we can't, once you let your body parts out there on the internet, you're not getting it back. All right? Keep yourselves hidden, protected. Parents, don't be afraid to go through it. And if you see these emojis, hey, ask about it. Delete them. Get rid of them. Control the phones. We want to raise kids that are going to be an asset to society. And eventually, they're going to have the decision to make their own choices at a certain age. But until they're that age, you're the one that's responsible for them. You're the one that has to make the decision to make sure that the police don't come knocking at your door to say, Shane's been involved in this event. Or Addie, I have a sheriff's department come to me and say, you know what, Detective Neese, Addie was out with some friends. They sent some text messages. They got robbed. She sent some text messages. We're trying to find your daughter, but we believe she's been kidnapped from the mall. All right? I can have it happen. Pastor can have it happen. Anybody can have it. Did you guys get it? All right. Anybody that's looked at the emojis have any questions? Sir. So that didn't send through either, did it? We'll just, you guys, it's in the PDF version of it. Are you saying like when you're tapping through it, it'll... Right. So I think that they do because everything is based off of keyboard and characters, but I think that it would be harder to send some of them out. Go back up one or two, right? So I know they all have words for the tulip, for the male and female, tulip, peace sign, honey pot, sushi, the fortune cookie, all right? All of these have side meanings, and you guys laugh, but your kids are out here with boys sending it to your daughters, and you open their phone, and you're like, oh, look, you got the honey pot. You must be talking about Winnie the Pooh. No. They're not talking about Winnie the Pooh. They're talking about your daughter. Or your son is sending it, and he's talking about somebody else's daughter. And I make a lot of mistakes. My wife's great. She reminds me and lets me know when I do. And she covers me. What I lack in believing that Addie won't mess up, Jessica's like, no. She's a child. She will make a mistake. We're going to watch it. But we have made a decision, and I joke with Addie about it, but when I was a kid and you got a girl's phone number, you had to talk to her dad first. And you had to have that uncomfortable conversation. Well, now, with cell phones, you never have to know their parents until you're walking in the door and they're asking to marry your daughter if you're not careful. And I've made it known that in order for anybody to talk to my child, they have to call me if they're a boy or somebody of the opposite sex. It's got to come to me. She cannot talk to anybody on her phone that isn't in one of her little soccer groups that we monitor, or they're in her contacts. And I add all her contacts. She doesn't have access to adding her contacts. Her phone can be shut down from my phone at a moment's notice. Matter of fact, I don't know what's it might be Jesus, but he shuts it down every Wednesday at 3:15. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. It's not me. But you've got for men, hot dogs, bananas, baguettes, carrots, snakes, rooster, all these different things. And Joe, you laugh, but I'm sure you've sent some. And you're like, my mom will never know what this is. All right? That's the thing. I want you guys to realize that this is to protect you as much as it is to put you on blast. And I want you guys to be successful. All right? I don't want to deal with you when you're an 18-year-old, okay? I don't want to be sitting on the other side of the table of anybody that's in this church and saying, why did you do this? And we have to have a different tone. I'd rather us all have a conversation here, talk about it here, where you guys can go home and be like, man, I'm mad at Daryl Neese, instead of, I got to go to jail. I hate that detective. All right? I've seen too much. All right? I want you guys to be aware of these things, and I want you to make sure that you're going down. Go to the next slide for me. Going down the correct one. Again, go back up. Again, for anybody that was unaware, peach, apple, pear, chestnut, cherries, full moon face, okay sign, and donuts. All expressions for your buttocks. breasts, cherries, pear melons, camel humps. Again, if you see these being sent to your daughter, or you see these being sent to your son, or you see that your daughter's sending these out, or your son's sending these out, just know they're not talking about eating fruit. Go to the next one. These are a little bit more. I would like you guys to go home and zoom in and see what it's actually talking about. Search through your phones. You guys have access to all of these. You can read through it. If you need to keep it, great. Go to the next one. I got about, I think, 20 minutes, right? What time? 8:15? Yeah. Okay, I got 12 minutes. So one of the other things we're here is since I've been here, we've had a change in how, like, in our availability to different walks of life. We've opened our doors. We've got people in the E-Town alone. Our availability in we see more drug dealers and drug addicts in this town than we ever have before. There's probably close to 100 recovery houses in E-Town now that are continuing to grow. It's not because it's helping people recover from addiction. It's because these people are finding out that they can make a ton of money off of it on the backs of people trying to break free from addiction. So, why I say that? Because these people might start coming to our church. And when people show up at our church, they have good intentions of finding Jesus, but sometimes they can get mixed in. And then they can bring their kids. And their kids don't know any better, but they only know one way of life, and that's that their parents sell drugs, and their parents do drugs. You ask Pastor. Pastor grew up with parents that did it, and he told you he knew all about drugs. Probably sold some. I don't know. But if he came in here, and he came to church here, and he started going to youth, and he's 15 years old, and he's like, hey, Cheyenne, hey, I got... I do some things on the side. And let me talk to you about it through text message. Well, next thing you know, pastor's getting a text message that's seeing the money sign face or the rocket ship. And when it comes back to that, most of these up top, the rocket ship and the bomb and the explosion are for high-potency marijuana. People don't really advertise high-potency heroin. High-potency heroin is advertised by the amount of drug overdoses you have and the amount of deaths you have under your belt. And that is actually, believe it or not, they wanted in the beginning, before they started getting charged federally, they wanted people to die of a drug overdose because they knew that would build up their people wanting their heroin because the resistance that their body is fighting on the heroin. Meth is in there. Heroin, cocaine. Cocaine's got quite a few. There's also quite a few words that you can look up too. If you ever see your kid and he's talking about diesel or gas, there's several other words. If they're talking about heroin, which I really hope nobody here is on heroin. If you are, please try to find a way off of it. But talk about horse, dog food, gravel. Crystal meth is ice. That's basically the only thing you're ever referring to is ice. But MDMA, Molly, it seems to be a big one that's going across our kids again. It was our ecstasy from years ago, but now they're doing it in powder form. And mushrooms, cough syrup, and marijuana. The reason cough syrup is on there is because there's scissor. It's promethazine. They dip cigars in it or Black and Milds in it, and then they use it to get a better high off of those. Does anybody have any questions about the drug stuff? All right, I'm going to go through some screenshots of what a little bit of stuff looks like. And heroin and fentanyl have so many different ways to cook it up that it can be everything from light brown to dark brown to black. And then the fentanyl can be white. So the biggest problem is the one on the right. People say, my child would never use illegal drugs. My child is only, he may have a prescription. If somebody has like a toothache, or they go to the dentist, right, and they're giving out Percocets. and then you're like, man, these Percocets are good, but then the dentist stops giving you your Percocets, right? Then you've got a friend's like, hey, I know somebody that's selling them. Well, then you grip one of those Percocets, and next thing you know, you're waking up to EMS over top of you that has just Narcaned you 4 times because the Percocets are out here in the streets are being mixed with fentanyl more and more. And people are dying by taking one of them. So, again, only take medicine that's prescribed to you. Don't get it from anybody else. And if you're on Percocets, try to find a way to wean yourself off of it so that you're not out here looking for other ample ways. Marijuana, it's going to be legal in Kentucky. I don't know if it'll be this year or next year. Just get ready for it. It's not legal in Kentucky now. The governor has an executive order out that says that you can possess up to 8 ounces with the right prescription card and the right blank. Once we shut the live stream off, I'll tell you my side of that one. But if you ever have questions and you can't get a hold of me, you don't have my number, feel free to reach out to Pastor, and I'm going to use him as my filter, and he will get you in contact with me. I'll help you decide if you think your kids have drugs on you. Now, if you call me to your house because you think your kids have drugs, we're going to handle it with an officer. It's not going to be Daryl Neese, Lakeside Worship Center. If I come to your house because of a drug issue, it will be official business. And I will bring somebody with me that is in a uniform, and we will handle it accordingly, but we will make sure it's taken care of. If it's something you find on the streets and you're like, man, I found this and I want to get rid of it, you can drop it off at the PD. They'll take it from you. You won't get arrested. And I want you guys to know I love everybody here, okay? If I didn't, I wouldn't be up here rambling. And I wouldn't have dressed up for you. No.
So is the brown and white both cocaine?
So the brown and white up there is heroin. China white heroin and Mexican brown heroin, mainly because they come from 2 different sides. But the problem is the China white heroin is now coming over in the forms of fentanyl. So in my time working drugs, everything kind of had a progression. When I first started Opanas, how many of you ever heard of Opana when you guys out here for pain meds? Probably, yeah, see, everybody's looking at me like, nope. Opana was a small drug. Dentists and doctors were giving it out like it was a bag of Skittles. Then they noticed that people were starting to get too addicted to it, so they pulled back. Well, then they noticed that people were snorting it, so then they made it so that if you crush it, it turned into a gel. Well, then, the federal government's like, well, we got to get rid of all of it. So then they cut it all off. Out comes heroin. People started, this is when back in 10, 11, 12, your city started noticing needles pop up. And that's probably something you're noticing here too. We have the same kind of problem here because of our availability to these addiction recovery centers. And honestly, if you fail out of an addiction or recovery center here in E-Town, you're not going home. You're getting, if you're staying at the one off Deeks Drive, you're getting kicked out and you're going to they're hanging out at Wendy's. They're coming to Baptist Health. They're coming to Baptist BHH. They're ending up at our mall. They're ending up at Walmart where they're shoplifting. It's not a good thing that we've created, that our citizens who are local here have created in order to make a quick buck. Please be careful with the prescription pills. Remember, can you go to the next slide, please? Your prescriptions, that's in the PDF, and then go to the very last one. Is that the last one? Hey, can you open up that other one? It should have the QR code in it. So the very last thing, and it is also a PDF, is the parental control settings. So when you have an iPhone, and I talked with Addie's soccer teammates, it's good that they've all got kids the same age because we kind of talk about what access they've had. We were at a soccer game one day, and one guy was like, my daughter only has an Apple Watch because I know that she can only listen to music, she can't take photos, she can't send photos, and she can only text with who we let, and she can talk to us. Another lady said that she allows her daughter, they share an iCloud account. And she says, I see everything that my daughter sends and does. The only problem is sometimes when I limit stuff on her phone, I limit it on my phone. The way that we do it in our house is, since Addie has been, it was a couple years ago, somebody won an iPod Touch, and Addie wanted an iPod Touch, so I said, if you get good grades, I'll buy her one for her birthday. I think it was 6. Is that when you got it? So she's had an iCloud account since 6 years old. What I did is when we got to the point where she started talking to friends, is I added all the screen time features to it. Content restrictions, who she can talk to, her downtime, what apps she can use. She has apps that she can only use 5 to 10 minutes a day. Not because I don't want her to be able to enjoy her phone, but because she enjoys playing soccer, and I want to encourage her to go practice. Right, Dr. Norm? But you can control everything that they do on their phones. So that's why, in order to do it the way we did it, we had to sign them both up for iCloud accounts. They can only talk to people that I add on their content or on their contact list, and I can edit it at any given time. She has no permission to edit her contacts. She has no permission to install anything on her phone. If she wants extra time, she has to ask. The big thing that I noticed, though, is people are like, yeah, I got all that screen time stuff on my kid's phone. And then I was sitting eating lunch with somebody the other day, and their kid called and said, hey, I need more time in this. What's the screen time passcode? And they were like, oh, it's this. I'm like, what good does that have, all right? So if you're going to add it, at least go through with the part of not letting them have access to the screen time password. Android's a little different. It's a family link app. If you have a Chromebook from school and you've added your kid's email to it, you can control everything that they do. Now, the school controls it as well, but you can control who they're talking to on there, what apps they're using, their location, their browsing history. With Addie, she has access to Safari, but she has access to like 7 different websites. Matter of fact, it's so limited, she tried to pull up the QR code tonight, and it told her no. And it's not to say, I'm not doing it to brag. I'm doing it to say that police work has made me insane. All right? And I am a little crazy about protecting my kids. And I'm a little crazy about protecting your kids here too. All right? Kevin watches over these kids like they're his own, with the security guys all the time. Matthew, Courtney, Lady Beth, all working with the kids. We all have the reason that we want your kids to succeed in life. And it's not because we don't want kids to have fun or be kids, but it's because we want them to be kids. The moment they lose their innocence by doing something that we don't monitor, they never gain that back. Right now, they're covered by you. Don't let them make that mistake if you can help it. If you have questions, reach out to me. I'm normally either upstairs in the drums or running around here doing something. I won't hesitate to help you. If you come to me, and it's hard on my behalf, because if you tell me about something illegal, I have a duty to act. I have a duty to report. I can lose my job. I won't do that. All right? I won't risk my family 4 years. But if you have a question and you are worried about legal advice, there's always a median, there's always a filter between me and you that you can always use. And he doesn't hesitate to call me and give me hypothetical questions. All right? Now, again, if you notify him of illegalities in law, abuse, sexual abuse, stuff like that, he's going to report it. But if it's something that can be stopped and can be headed off and cut off early, let's do it. And let's let kids be kids. But let's also be mindful that, they will make mistakes. They will do dumb stuff, and they will try to cover it up. So, any questions? Ma'am. I'll look at your phone and I'll show you just to make sure it can be sent. It should be able to. You can actually, if you have the link open where you copied it, when you hit the little QR code and it opened, you can send that to people too. I don't know everything that some people know about computers. Actually, the smartest two computer people in here, one's sitting behind a camera and the other one's up there in the sound booth, off to the right of it. They're both great resources too. It's Caleb and Preston. If you need your grammar corrected, it's Chris. He corrected mine tonight. I love him, but again, if anybody is mad, I don't apologize. I love you, and I do it with a purpose. Tim? So
You're out of time, by the way, so this is your last question.
Courtney had one. So here's the thing. Password managers, I use Apple. Preston made fun of me. It's like, so you let China dictate your password? Yeah, I basically do. To keep from having the same password and having issues, I let Apple pick all my passwords. When it goes to a new website, it says, do you want to use a strong password? Absolutely. I don't remember a single one of my passwords anymore. I got facial recognition and passcodes that I can remember on my phone that allow me access to whatever. So if you have the suggestive apps like iOS and stuff like that, don't be hesitant. You can choose strong passwords. There's different options. Every regular password has a special character that they allow. And Courtney, we can get in here. I'm not worried about him. And a big. So that is up to the Hardin County Sheriff or Radcliffe Police where you work. We handle everything in our city schools. If we have a bullying incident, if we have somebody threatening anybody in school, we will find you. I will trace back your IP address to find who. So there is a follow-up. It's not just like an MP. If it's with E-Town, it is. Okay. I can't speak for the sheriff's office. We have a school resource officer now. Yes. Yeah, they should be doing. Is it a deputy? Brown uniform? Yes. All right, anything else? Anybody else? All right, kicked off.
Thank you, guys. All right, well, obviously parenting is a lot different than it used to be, and running our house is a lot different than it used to be. And I know for some of you this may not seem very spiritual, but protecting your home is a big deal. And it's a qualification just for being a Christian. Every Christian should be qualified to be a bishop. So I know there were probably some teenagers laughing, and it's probably because some of them are aware of or have participated in some of these things. And I'm sure that it's probably ahead of us. I'm sure there's probably stuff that even Daryl hasn't heard of that are out there. The biggest thing you can do is just limit their time and pay attention. Also, another good thing to do, one thing I learned a little while ago is that they can choose who sees what, even on main social media platforms. And you have to be very careful with that because you may not be seeing anything. You may be looking and just seeing innocence. But specific sets of friends can see certain things. They can hide things from you on their social media that is still public. Make sure that you're paying attention to that as well. They can create fake accounts to where it's them, but it's not them according to you. So best thing you can do is have some sort of controls on your kids' phones and make sure that you're taking care of business as a parent. Father, in Jesus' name, we thank you for tonight. And Lord, even though some of this information may not seem too relevant to some of us, it is relevant to all of us. Lord, I pray that you would just help us as parents and help our students to have purity of heart and minds, but help us as parents not to be naive. Lord, there was a time when sex trafficking and different things happened in dark alleys, and now it can happen in the living room while we're watching TV with our kids and we think they're texting. God, just give us discernment, give us wisdom to be able to combat these things. In Jesus' name, amen. Don't forget your kid by the late kids. We love them. We don't want them.